Yeah.
Here we are. It's just
Just the
for
two of us.
just the two of us.
Thank God. You have such a better voice, so you should definitely be the one to sing it, but I thought it for what it's worth.
Yay.
So we were chatting offline, and there was a theme that I feel like is really relevant to therapy being dope, which is avoidance.
hmm Yeah, actually, yes, I am eating a dried mango.
Mhm.
I was looking at some clips from our previous podcast, and there was a theme in the two podcasts that I've gone through so far. They were talking mostly about men and how
Yeah.
men are taught to be silent and to avoid their feelings and um, what a disservice this is to us and how it's leading to suicide. So I'm not trying to repeat things that we've already discussed, but little tidbit about avoidance and how we have discussed parts of this already.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's absolutely relevant. And I think it's like naturally my brain goes to like, why do we avoid? Right? Like, okay, maybe avoidance is the best tools that certain people have and can't really do better than your best, right? But I think it, at least from my perspective, it all sources that like we're never taught how to, I like to say, potty train our emotions. Like truly, like we're taught when you feel X sensation, go to the potty, right? That's how you train people to know this is what that means. Something that's you're peeing in diapers day in, day out for a while until you start to attune to, oh, this sensation means blank,
Mhm.
right? Similarly, growing up, we're having these different emotional experiences, and based on our environment's capacity, parents, grandparents, friends, teachers, etc., we get signals, not always in like verbal signals either, not just like you shouldn't feel that, but just negative reactions in general. And a lot of it, I think, is body language that's negative that a lot of people don't recognize still sends the same signal to a kid that that emotion isn't allowed. You aren't accepted if you're experiencing that, but that doesn't make the emotion less real. So, as a kid with no tools to process it, what do you have left but to, go to your room, cry, scream, stomp around, or push it away and avoid it, right?
I was thinking about that. I think in psychology we call it like unspoken rules because
Yeah,
nobody ever told me not to cry. I did get the message that you're not supposed to, but nobody ever said that verbally to me.
right.
And I think it's different um for boys probably. I don't know. The whole like man up thing. Uh
Yeah.
but nobody ever told me that. And then, I don't know. That's a whole other rabbit hole that I'm thinking about, but there are times when crying isn't the most appropriate.
Well, whether it's appropriate or not, I don't think is the relevant question,
Hmm.
right? And I think part of the reason why sometimes we have quote unquote inappropriate emotional responses is because we aren't processing and releasing the emotion in the moment. So then when something small then comes and triggers that energetic response, it brings more up. So it's kind of like this holistic beast. But to kind of backtrack and retrack, I've been around some extended family and we have some little munchkins that are super cute. And I heard someone saying to one of the munchkins, like, remember, we're strong, and would like flex their muscle whenever he was crying. And it
Oh,
was kind of one of those things. I remember being like, why are you doing that? And she's like, because I want him to know he's strong and like he doesn't need to cry. And I'm like, crying is how he's soothing. That's like how babies soothe themselves.
yeah.
Like you're literally telling him it's strong to be dysregulated.
Wow.
And she didn't know it. And then the next time I saw her like try to go and do it and she stopped herself. Now, I'm not there all the time, so I'm sure it's back, but like that's a simple, right? That's just simple idea. It's strong to not cry, is what a 1.5-year-old is already being told. And, he doesn't know it yet, but like keep growing up with those same people sending the same message, you're gonna figure it out.
You might know it. You might be surprised. These kids.
You never know.
So what I'm hearing you say is avoidance is the opposite of processing.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay.
I really think it is because and avoidance is tricky. Like I do have a ton of, and I have my own avoidance patterns, like not sitting over here on my perfect little perch. Like I'm doing the work trying to figure out my shit day in, day out, and it is messy, messy. But
Still human. We're always going to be human.
I know. So my empathy for avoidance is it's hard to find avoidance because you're avoiding it,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
But I know that there are certain things in my business, in my personal relationships, in just life in general that I can feel myself avoiding them. Now, some things are intentional. Like we've talked about certain news cycles and how my mental health requires a little bit more distance. If I'm super duper informed with stuff, so like, am I avoiding it? Maybe. I think some people could look at it that way. I experience it as like selective uh information.
Exposure.
Yeah, selective
Controlled
exposure.
exposure. And
Exactly.
I think you're not avoiding it altogether. You're just
No,
not inundating yourself with it, which is something that we can also do that's not good for us.
I think the hardest avoidance patterns, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, are stuck circumstances. Like if you're feeling something, hurt, betrayed, abandoned, fill in the blank, because someone you know or in relationship to keeps doing this, they keep gaslighting you, they keep minimizing you, etc. So like you can do your best to try and process that, but as it keeps happening, it keeps like how do you therapize people into processing the emotions with that because they can't really get away from it or get out from under it, you know?
Um, I don't believe anybody's ever stuck. Maybe temporarily. Maybe temporarily. But there's I don't always have the solutions for people. But I have watched people enough that when people get sick of something, they fucking figure it out.
Hmm.
Figure out a way. Something normally that I wouldn't even think of, but people figure it out. So prior to them getting to that point, what I do is a lot of supporting and a lot of pointing out what's happening. Uh,
Hmm.
but then supporting because in those situations, people don't have support usually or limited support. And so, one line that I tell my clients a lot, and I genuinely mean this, is that I don't want to make anybody do anything. I just want to be here for your journey and support you through it.
Right.
And that is the truth. And most of the time, I mean, I can't say all the time, but most of the time, I think people come to a place where they're like, yeah, I'm done. I need to do something about this.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of like my own personal avoidance patterns,
Hmm.
and I'm stubborn, I'm goal oriented. And so I can go years on years on years with the same pattern. I mean, you know this. You're my friend. You're not just on here with me. And what I have found with myself, at least, is it kind of feels like the paradigm of suffering to a bit. Like I might not like what I'm regularly experiencing because I'm in this, maybe I'm not stuck, but I'm in the commitment or the arrangement. Like my business is what my business is. My relationships are what my relationships are, right? Like they can be tweaked, sure, but there's certain aspects that probably can't. And there's good and bad with all of them. But if I'm
Okay.
staying in that pattern, regularly being frustrated by the pain of it, I'm still choosing to stay in that pattern. But how I experience it is like I'm avoiding the truth of how hard it is for me. But I really think what I'm avoiding is responsibility. Like I'm choosing it by staying. I'm choosing it by being in that circumstance, whether I like it or not. Like me staying there is still me like passively choosing to stay in that pattern. And I think I avoid it because I don't know what else to do, or I'm not willing to do the alternative action, whatever that might be.
So when I said support and um, pointing things out, part of that is regularly being accountable to yourself for what's going on. So the more people talk about what they're doing, and the more people are talking about the frustration of it, the more they're having to face that. And the more that is in someone's awareness, the more they can't avoid it. So
Hmm.
I like to just be that person. Like you can text me, you can call me, you can, you know, vent to me anytime because the more you're facing this, the better things are going to move.
Yeah.
Also believe, okay, this might surprise you
Ooh, I'm in for it.
in divine timing.
What? Craziness.
I don't like that word. I'm not gonna lie.
I do know that. I do know that part.
Um, but I do believe that there that I don't know the right time for people to make these decisions for themselves. And for example, we could say like an abusive relationship. We're just using that as an example.
Mhm.
If I push someone to leave before the right time, they could literally die.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful when you're leaving a relationship. So I don't know when the right time is for somebody to do that. And I think that's part of why it has to be the other person's choice. Like maybe they don't have anywhere to go and suddenly they meet a friend who says, "Yeah, you can stay with me anytime,"
Right.
you know? So I think there
I
are
agree.
elements that I consider as well.
I think that's well, first and foremost, like I don't think it's ever our job to tell someone like do it. I think we can help them clarify like what are you waiting to see? What is the limit for you? Like help them clarify their own experience, sure, but like to your point, like their internal capacity, their sleep, their financial security, their safe, like there's so many components to understand. And it really like people choose the devil they know versus the devil they don't. And I think that's like the icky part of the avoidance pattern is whether I like it or other people who struggle with avoidance like it, like you're getting something from the avoidance pattern. Like if we go back to the original kind of thought of like men and their emotions just as like the general theme. And again, not all men do this. We know that. We're just using it from like the previous podcasts. But people, sometimes men who avoid their emotions, like they're getting something from it. Maybe it's the perception of being manly. Maybe it's feeling a sense of control. Maybe it's being able to fit in. Who knows? Right. But I think that's the part of the avoidance pattern that needs to be witnessed if you really want to change like the avoidance pattern, not the moment of avoidance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Even even the suffering that people have to go through because of their avoidance, I think is often necessary. And again, this is going back to the divine timing thing that I don't know what people need to experience. I don't know
Mm.
what any given person needs to experience to learn whatever they need to learn or, get wherever it is they need to go. So that's why it's not my job to make anybody do anything, but I do think it's my job to help people face it because
Yeah.
sometimes things are really hard to face by yourself. In fact, I would say a lot of things are
Oh
really
yeah.
hard to face by yourself. And it's really sad to me that our society has become and pushed independence so much and sort of isolated because we have to have a community. We have to have people who are willing to help us through things. Um, because nobody can handle everything by themselves or always make the right decisions or even hold their pain by themselves.
No, and it's so like it very much feels like this whole hyper independence movement is just fear, like people pushing an abstinence of fear, like avoid your fear at all costs. Don't let people see that you're afraid. And it just makes us very manipulated, very controlled. Like our phones are our pacifiers, just constantly escaping reality. And then we wonder why we're all anxious and depressed, you know? It's like we aren't being human. Like that's actually one of my favorite questions to ask some of my clients. Like when we get into like the inner critic stuff, I'm like, what does it even mean to you to be human? Like, yes, you have the physical vessel, you have two eyes, you're obviously not a dog, you can use words, right? So there's certain things obviously, but like, what about your internal experience? Because when I do like keynotes, one of the things I'll say is raise your hand if you're harsher to yourself than anyone else in your life. And every single time everyone's hands go up. So this is
But
like
that's part of being human, I think.
that is part of being human, right? But that's the point. Like, but it's also kind of conditioned into us because we don't realize that we have another option in retraining that voice.
Oh
But
my God. I was sorry, I'm interrupting.
oh,
I was just listening to Deepak Chopra talk about that. Fuck, I don't remember who sent me the podcast. Oh, Samantha sent it to me.
shut up.
Yeah, it was a podcast with the girl from the office, not the office, Big Bang Theory, the Amy.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I forget her name in real life. It's like Malik or something. I don't know. I probably just fucked that up too. But anyway, um, he said we have to remember who we are, but then he made the point, who were you when you were born? And he said, we aren't anything. We don't have a language.
Mm-mm,
We don't have we don't have much when we're
mm-mm,
born. And everything that we become is taught to us. And I was like, oh man, I know in school we think about that because, they talk about like the kid raised in the jungle who couldn't talk or whatever, the kid
right,
locked in a cage for 10 years who can't walk. Uh,
right.
but really, that is so true. We are so conditioned literally from the time we are born.
Oh, yeah. And avoidance is conditioned too. Like, did you ever hear about like elephants in circuses and how they condition baby like elephants to not break the giant poles?
No.
So they would get these baby elephants, babies, right? So they weren't strong enough as babies to break the poles. They'd tie them to the poles and they would yank and yank and yank and yank and yank and yank. They just weren't strong enough. And eventually the elephants stopped trying and
Uh,
then they grew up and they were strong enough to break the poles. But they never tried because they were conditioned to believe they couldn't. And like I remember when I was hearing that, I was like, this is literally what it is to be a human. Like, whether you avoid your emotions or not, think about your family. Was your family super expressive? Was like, when you saw your mom or dad or brother or sister, aunt, uncle, whoever, when they were sad, what did they do? Did they apologize? Did they try and hide it? What was anger like? Right? Like, when I think about it, it makes so much more sense to me why I felt like I needed to fix people's emotions for so long because that was what I grew up in. Like, if someone has an unpleasant emotion, you need to fix it. If you don't know how to fix it, you avoid it. And I've
mm,
literally heard my dad say to me, like, I guess I didn't realize just how much pain you were in when you were younger. And I was like, in my head, I didn't say it to him because I love my dad and like my parents did a great freaking job and I'm so freaking grateful. But like parenting is a mashed bag of shit. Like you're gonna fuck up your kids to a certain degree, right? And I got really lucky. They did not fuck me up that much. Like this much, but not that much. And I remember thinking when he said that, like, of course you didn't know how much pain I was in. You never you guys never created the environment where it was safe to tell you. Like you're upset that I wasn't open and honest with you about certain things, but when I was, what would have happened? It
Yeah.
kind of goes back to like what Gabor was talking about.
What did he say?
You remember with the indigenous woman who was like kidnapped and taken to like whatever school and like she couldn't speak her native language anymore?
Vaguely?
And so she was really ashamed that she couldn't speak her native tongue anymore. And he was like, well, what would have happened to you at that school?
Oh, yes, she would have been beat. Yes, okay, I remember now.
There you go. You remember the beating. Yeah. So
Save the good stuff.
just right there. Remember, beating. But it makes sense. And that was kind of like the compassionate lens he offered her. Like, yeah, of course, your brain and your nervous system won't let you learn something that could kill you. Like, that's your system working how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, it's meant to protect you.
So, like, if you grew up in an environment where feeling your feelings or showing your feelings was met in a threatening way, avoidance seems pretty safe, even if there's pain on the back end. But what's crazy, like those elephants, it's so unconscious. Like people don't even realize they do it.
I think the people that I worry about the most are the people who have avoided the most because when
Hmm.
if you want to get well, part of
Yeah.
that will be facing those things. And because you've avoided them for so long, they may very well feel extremely overwhelming. Because
Yeah.
like you open the floodgates and oh, here's all of these feelings that I stuffed away for all of this time. And I think those people are the least likely to stay with therapy, to be honest, because there's just so much there
Yeah.
that it feels like, wait, like they're like, I was doing fine. Like I was doing fine. Why am I going to do this now?
Right. Like I have such bipolar feelings about it because there are people in my life who have hurt people I love because they haven't dealt with their stuff. But also I recognize that those people, their parents didn't deal with their stuff. So the whole reason they're where they are is because like they weren't given the resources either. But like when I think about this one person, like she was always very transactional. Like I will go to two therapy sessions and it should be fixed. It's like, no. But then interestingly, if I ask her about like her favorite memories of Christmas or her favorite birthday party, she can't talk about it. She can't talk about joy
Oh,
without breaking down. And what's sad is I do believe that this person has a really kind heart. And I'm watching her get older and older and older, more psychotic, more medicated, more distant from reality, and more lonely. And like, yeah, we're fine. But is fine really what we're going for? Or like maybe loved, seen, held, happy?
I think
Crazy.
a couple of years ago, there was a lady who came out with a trauma workbook
Mm.
and it was for 50 plus 50-year-old and plus, and I was like, what in the heck is that for? Like, why would you put an age on this workbook? But she explained that we have a easier time avoiding things when we're busy trying to develop a career, or we're busy trying to take care of kids, or we're
Hmm.
busy doing whatever the things we're doing in life. And then when people reach
Yeah.
their 50s, they
Hmm.
haven't dealt with anything. And now all of a sudden, all these symptoms are happening. And they're like, where is this coming from? Like, why am I having panic attacks all of a sudden?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, the other downside of what can happen is the
Oh, I
physical stuff
know.
starts to happen.
I know. It's I go so many different places with it because when I meet people like and I'm doing a consultation with them about busyness, I'll ask them how do you relax or how do you feel about relaxing? And like when they have an aversion to it, I'm like noted, okay. I know that we are not processing our emotions probably. But I also go to Maslow's hierarchy,
Yeah.
like
Are you capable?
are you capable, but also like what are the currents, like what state of safety are you in? Do you have a roof over your head? Do you know where your next meal is coming from? Like, are you in a physically safe environment? Because if you're not, yeah, there's whatever you're feeling will not matter to your body because it's not going to survive. So, like, in that view, we are all, our generation, most of us, I can't say all, are kind of privileged that we are at a space where a lot of us do know where our next meal is coming from. We do have a house. We have a sense of physical safety. We might be scared of things, but like we aren't truly physically threatened in like the human way, which gives our brain the availability, the capacity, the capability, right, to actually try and understand what it even means and is experienced to be emotionally safe. And like I've had plenty of boomer clients. Help, my dad asked me this yesterday. What is emotional regulation? Like he doesn't even know.
Did our podcast on it.
I know. Stay tuned, coming your way.
Dad. Um, shoot, what was I gonna say? It was something about
The hierarchy.
oh, it might have been about the hierarchy. Oh, yeah, I think that that's why our generation has more mental health problems because people are like, "Oh, this generation, they have so many mental health problems. They need disability, whatever nonsense the older generation gives to our generation, which I guess we're becoming the older generation, whatever. Don't worry about that. Um, and I think it's because there was so much trauma that nobody had the capacity to process.
Yeah,
Um, historically, historical trauma,
I
oppression of many populations of people, and just building this nation, like being a part of building this nation was very difficult and traumatic in a lot of ways. And so I think that our generation just had the enough privilege that we could focus on trying to heal that part of things.
I agree. Um, and I kind of want to return to something that you said. Like you don't know the suffering people need to go through, like how much of it is necessary, how much they need to experience. And I completely agree with you, but I can also imagine as a listener being like, what do you mean I need to suffer? Why do I need to suffer? Why do people need to experience suffering?
Okay, this is going back to that human experience. Unfortunately, and trust me, I think it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Humans have to have contrasts. If we
Yeah.
don't have, if you don't understand that, watch Inside Out, okay? Because it explains it very nice.
Right.
It
And
explains,
it's animated, so you can like it even more.
yes.
Yeah.
But genuinely, we have to have, it's the yin and yang of life, if you want to look at it that way. It's just we have to have contrast. If we don't have any suffering, we don't experience joy, we don't experience gratitude. There's a lot of things we wouldn't be able to have.
Yeah. And I think that that was such a key aspect for me to like accept more of the emotions in general is like what goes up must come down, what goes down must come up. Like nature always seeks balance and we are creatures of nature. So like I think that the degree of suffering we experience is ultimately helping us build the skills and preparing us for the upswing and what we're going to need to be able to manage capacity wise, skill wise, etc., to get to the next step. Right? Like I think about how low I felt when I was suicidal and how deeply grateful I get to experience joy of my business and helping people. And like it is such a gift. And I don't know if that's the up because there's been minor ups and downs along the way, but like the things I've learned, the skills I've built, the capacity, all of it, how I've healed, it does feel very correlative for me in seeing like how hard it was and what came. And I literally have a quote, and I know you know this because you've seen the background of my phone. People in my life who know me well enough, like you, know when I'm going through something because the background on my phone changes to a quote. that says, I called this experience into my life so I could transcend it.
Mm. I have that one written down too. It's not
Ah,
on my phone is I release all that doesn't serve me and open myself to all that is for my highest good.
preach. Um, so to tie a ribbon on avoidance, right? I think one of the things I want the audience to hear is like compassion. Like
Yeah.
you maybe don't like that you avoid things. You maybe can see how it causes you more suffering or more pain, but at the end of the day, like it was a learned behavior. And if you don't have other skills or other tools to help you process whatever it is that you're avoiding, avoiding is a pretty good survival option.
And I will add to that and say compassion also for those in your life who may be avoiding
Yeah.
because they may not have the tools
Mm,
for other things. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to tolerate a lot
mm,
of, mistreatment or anything along those lines. It just means we can be understanding that this person doesn't feel like they have the capacity to handle this.
yeah. And I think one of your messages, like, we're not supposed to do this alone,
Mhm.
really matters. And I think that's something so valuable about having like a therapist or a coach is like someone who can be in those hard moments with you and like not trying to always push, not trying to push you out, like just letting you move through it at your pace, but like having awareness and choice of it, right? And that's where like if you can have like a good friend who's like super emotionally safe, like Alicia, it makes it really fantastic to just be able to be safe in who you are, knowing like I have to experience this for whatever reasons, and I know you know that, so it makes it easier to just express things, but it doesn't make me feel like I'm holding it alone,
Yeah,
you know? And I think that is so underratedly powerful. So I'm glad you pointed that out.
me too. All right. Well, thanks once again for a lovely podcast. And hopefully we said some things worthwhile. And
Face your shit. Yeah.